he's rather surprised to hear that your major influences are Cream, Jimi Hendrix, B.B. King. Those are the sort of blues rock genre. It's kind of odd considering you're only 22 years old.
Actually, my major influences are probably even earlier jazz players and not even just guitar players. But, you know, I think it's beneficial for musicians to listen to musicians in lots of styles of music, which I do. And so that's really what my influences are. People maybe like Louis Armstrong and Jeff Healey, maybe guitar players like Django Reinhardt. So, you know, like I say, lots of different influences.
最も影響を受けてるのは because they're not exactly stuff that tops the charts, you know, and now it's you kind of had to go back into the record libraries and fish out a lot of the older stuff.
I grew up with a lot of the older stuff from older relatives and so forth. So, you know, I have about 11,078 now.
Is that right?
About 1,000 or so reissued LPs and things. I've started to work as well on some reissue projects. With different companies. And
in what capacity?
As a result, you know, a music consultant and researcher, things like that. I've always been interested. Once I started collecting records, I also got into the discographical work on it, and you know, the whole research behind it. So it's fascinating.
Let me just fill you in on what we're talking about here, Joe. We were asking Jeff about his own influences and his background and whatnot. And Mr. Iwami here commented it was rather odd for a 22-year-old guy to be going back into the old catalogs there to fish out stuff by Django Reinhardt and Louis Armstrong. The question just now was about more recent stuff, like, you know, his own personal experience has been like punk, new wave, that kind of stuff. Were you very influenced by the more recent stuff, Jeff?
I don't know what influenced me. I've always kept up on the music scene as well. Just, you know, being a musicologist and interested in music in general, how the music charts work and how radio works, and it's fascinating as well to me. So I listen to that.
Like you listen to the radio and...
Oh yeah.
Have you been like influenced like very much by stuff in the last 10 years?
Probably some. It's just kind of listen. There's always good and bad stuff coming out at all times. That's how I feel. And it's all in the opinion of the individual.
Yeah. And so, musical junkies. You guys are both from Toronto.
Yes.
He was commenting there, like, you know, Cowboy Junkies who sort of provided, I guess, us with a new face of Canada, or Toronto.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Has there been an independent music scene there that's very different from, say, that of various cities in America?
Well, it's said to be the third largest music scene in North America next to Los Angeles, New York.
Is that right? Yeah.
It's huge. There's always, you know, an abundance of great talent around the city, and there's loads of clubs to go watch bands and bringing in bands from all over the world. They're one of the major stops in Toronto, so we get to see it all.
What are some of the main style genres?
Everything. You know, on any given night, at least you can see any type of music you want to: jazz, reggae, blues, rock and roll,
metal, everything, really.
Everything at all.
Yeah.
A specific area where they were set at Cowboy Junkies is an area mostly called Queen Street West, which is very eclectic.
In a way, we sort of came out of there to a certain degree. We sort of had a bit of a house gig at a place in the Queen Street West area that we kind of worked up the atmosphere.
Had you been hitting the clubs much yourself for that?
Separately, yes. Joe has been playing in bands and all sorts of different projects since he was in his late teens. And myself, since I was like 14 or 15, so Dickinson, all throughout the Toronto area. And Tom, although he started playing drums when he was 28, still has a little experience behind the control of the quantum band.
You should start at drums at 28.
Yeah. Well, seriously, he dabbled a bit. Nothing serious.
Oh, you mean he went pro at 28?
Well, he started playing just seriously. In other words, playing every day or every week or whatever.
Get a chance.
Rather unusual.
That's the thing about Toronto. The club scene there is alive.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that I do miss a lot with traveling. There's so much to see and so much to learn. I think that's probably where I learned most of what I know as far as performing and watching, so many local artists playing, going to watch them playing.
I can't think of any major acts in Toronto that you could...
Rush. Neil Young basically based himself out of Toronto.
A couple members of the band.
Toronto. That's around the area. Gordon Lightfoot. You might have heard of Max Webster.
Quite not familiar.
They were sort of popular in Europe. Their guitar player, Ken Mitchell, playing solo. And this does very well in Canada. Can't seem to break out of it. And then loads of acts that are very popular in Toronto and maybe even throughout Canada. Unfortunately,
Actually, translate here for a minute. You notice there's among other guys in the charts like Tommy Conwell and Colin James that they have a rather strong taste for the blues as well.
Colin James is also from Canada.
Oh, is that right? What do you think of those guys?
Well, they're great. Colin's a good friend of mine for starting. I've known Colin for about 4 years. And he's kind of perceived, unfortunately, in the Canadian media as being in competition or something. But we're good friends. And, I think bands are quite different in the standpoint. And, there is, as I said before, there's a lot of good music coming out. And in my opinion, this is an individual bad music, but that's always the way it's can.
Yeah.
With recording music.
I think one thing he was trying to get at was why it's strange that you younger guys should get into the blues like this. Like this, the great music just never dies.
That's the whole art of it. We do a lot more than blues as well. I think even all three players mentioned Colin and Tommy. But there's an influence there, and if you want to just class it as blues, I would class it as feeling music, emotional music, more emotional.
Compared with a few years ago, it seems like more guys in the mainstream are dealing with what we call roots music. Maybe they're going for more of the human touch, a little more warmth, a little more natural style, as opposed to just technology or music with a hard edge. What do you guys think?
To a certain degree, but I mean, there's still the technical side of music, which has its place for those that most of the dancing is done. And people like John Cousineau, and Bruce Springsteen, Jackson Brown, and so forth, who've been around for years and in the charts, are sort of the more real type, real music, and call it what you will. So there might be a bit more emphasis on it now. I don't think it's as blatant as
It's because the other styles are still very active.
I guess as a musicologist, Jeff, you'd like to take issue with that, the point of view that having been exposed to more of the authentic stuff. Is that not the case?
Yeah, I suppose. As I said, things sort of go up and down a little bit in swing as far as trends and so forth. But music is always sort of, good, bad music to be heard at all times.
まあ常にいろんなものが混在してて違いそういう意識これを持ってるというのもあります。そういう力にしてそのところにYou mentioned technology a second ago here. How you said there's a place for it, and that seems to be in the form of dance music right now. I guess he was commenting, Jeff, the guy with your chops, probably is not that interested in making major use of technological development. Just kind of depend more on raw ability.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean to say I'm going to criticize it. You know what I mean? It has its place for those that get into that, but aren't really into music, just into something that has a bit of a beat to it and then moves to it, program it in, it's simple.
How do you see stuff like that? It's not quite your cup of tea.
Well, you won't see me performing, I don't think. But as I said, I'm not going to explain it.
As Jeff said before, there's always going to be good and bad music, no matter what the genre is.
Yeah.
There's still good dance music out there, good quality music.
There's some people who have made good music. Somebody like a Howard Jones, for example, who, is a wizard at that sort of thing, using technology. And Peter Gabriel, and for that matter, even Steve Winwood to a certain degree.
It's not that we are afraid of it or proud on it, because even within our own act, we make use of sampling. We produce and MP3 and bass guitars.
Convenient thing.
Well, it can be.
It can be, yeah. It's a huge problem.
At the stage that we're at right now, it's the answer for us. But there are some musicians who are involved in what you would call the roots music, that completely as almost a religion, just won't even think about it, touch it. Right, but we're not saying anything.
そういうなんていうのかな、こうtechnology notes the similarity between your band and Cream. They're a conscious.
No, it was not formed on any of that sort of, sort of carrying on any tradition or anything like that. The three of us just got together by chance, and had a jam session, and it just worked very well. The three of us worked very well together. Same reason other three-piece bands did. If three didn't work, then we would get 4 or 5 who worked, and that's the main thing in the band, is we all have to work well together.
そもそも出会いがね、セッションが3人でいるのは、You guys have sold a lot of records, considering the music is pretty faithful to its roots, blues. As you noted, Jeff, you said you were influenced by a little more prominent jazz musicians yesteryear. We get to the question of small. You guys can pretty much stand on this style. You see it as an evolving thing. You said, there's all sorts of other stuff floating around in popular music. House music is popular now. The band's still doing funk, various genres right now. You guys pretty much are going to...
Just go listen to the album See the Light and notice that there is a feel of blues. But as far as the music, there's many different forms of music on the album itself. Within the 12 songs of the album, there's some tunes that are faithful to the blues tradition. There's some straight up rock tunes. There's a ballad. There's a medium tempo pop songs. There's everything. So that album really is a good example of some of the directions that we try to take in the future.
We want to do that.
Also, the soundtrack for the movie Roadhouse, which will be coming up here roughly in September, can show a different side of the band, which is more based upon these, which is the role for us in the movie was just started. And we're basically playing cast rock and roll, blues rock and roll.
When was the album completed?
Completed last July.
This most recent one. You have to forgive my
the movie?
No, not the movie sound, the actual album.
Right.
It's about last July.
Yeah.
So if like you guys were to put together a new album tomorrow, what would the different directions be? How much
That's hard to say. I think for starters, the band is, it's got another year under itself in performances, and the band has just been growing since day one. All of us maturing as musicians, becoming a closer unit as a band. And, I think you'll just hear probably, a lot of the, whatever new ideas that will probably come to us without really trying to be specific,
Seems like a lot of bands, after they've been together for a year on the road, when they go back to the studio, they'll start to incorporate more ideas that worked on the road. And as a result, you get a little more vigor on the album that follows the tour. I think that's going to be the case for you guys.
Well, you see, it's hard to say that is, rule. Some artists do that not. It's a complete change. It's really unpredictable. Also, the follow-up album for us is important. So basically, we'll be getting different ideas from all different directions.
There's nothing in mind. So it's kind of talking vague terms.
We're evading the issue because we really don't want to give people an idea of what to expect.
Oh, yeah.
But the White album has a very broad spectrum. And it's not just put out as a blues album or anything like that.
And that's about your guitar style. First of all, how did it evolve? And secondly, what were the main influence of the guitar style learned into your style of music, the band style of music? Of the guitar style, were you influenced by anybody else?
I started with it, laid on my lap, very tuned to a chord, altering the chords, with a slide. And eventually learning standard tuning when I was about 8 years old, doing away with the steel bar at that point slide and putting my hand over top of it and putting it on my fingers and stuff. And then I take it down all lessons and music theory and all that, which probably helped certainly. But the guitar is sort of unknown for me.
When you were 8 years old, were you already listening to this stuff, or were you still maybe playing guitar?
I listened to a lot of, at that point I listened to a lot of country and loud jazz, and, firm rock and all that point, that'd be the early 70s. Listening to stuff, but it's not really, following one particular direction at all.
Do you have any other musicologists in the family who took a look at you and said, hey, we're going to do something with these kids?
No, not really. My family is very departed from the music industry or business, they're good listeners. My parents coming from very large families, so when I talk to relatives who, listen to all of them, listen to different things, I just sort of got into a lot of stuff as a result. I think that's true. I do have one cousin who is a very, very good jazz piano player. She studied music for some time. Actually went to Berkeley and all that sort of thing. But for the most part, it's all just music listening.
So you didn't receive any special encouragement?
My parents were very supportive. I don't think they didn't know, how to push me into. They've not really been the type to push me to anything. They wanted me to try and make my own decisions. I think my dad, for some time, wanted me to maybe take up a more stable, at least at first appearance, stable career, like a lawyer or something like that. But once he saw that, that things were moving in the right direction from the music, I always recognized the talent.
Well, this is like when you made up your mind that you would go on as a professional guitar player?
I don't know. I just always dabbled with instruments, lots of instruments. Guitar being, I guess, the most comfortable of all of them, which is why I sort of stuck to it mainly and tried to work out as much as I could with it and continue to do so. I guess once I got out of high school, and I'd been playing in bars, sort of publicly, amateur regularly, for some time, but at that point I really had to say, okay, are you going to go for it, or are you just going to go and do something else and maybe play occasionally on the weekend? And so I just jumped into it, tried to hook up with as many different projects as possible, and eventually this one came together about a year.
When was your first paying gig?
I was 11. It was a flea market, local flea market. This guy he became a very good friend of mine, selling guitars. And I was down looking for records. I walked past where he was at, and he was playing, and my dad took me over, introduced me, and got a guitar for me, and I played around with it, and eventually sort of came on to work for a little while there, sort of demonstrating guitars and just playing a few things.
So was that just a constant gig at a flea market? Question for you, Joe. How would you evaluate Jeff as guitarist and Jeff as a vocalist?
What does he evaluate?
I guess, how would you rate him? His guitar playing against his vocals?
Against it? Or just separate? As a guitarist, I think that Jeff ranks as one of the finest guitar players I've ever heard. Not only in the music style that we're playing, but just generally. For imagination, execution of technique, tone. And as a guitarist to play with, as a bassist, he is an answer to a lot of the things that I've looked for all the time. As far as the vocalist, Jeff is a very expressive vocalist. A lot of that comes from the feel. It is, it comes from the bass, like that feel, which is very important. He has an incredible range. His falsetto goes way, way beyond mine, another tenor. And his phrasing is also, it's been rooted in listening to really jazz and blues. Superior in a lot of its expressiveness. And it's continuing to get better and better as we perform every night and do more recording. So it's going to continue to get better. And that goes for the whole band. Every aspect of this band is continuing to grow.
Recording, I found, really helped me out as a vocalist.
Recording?
Yeah, because then I was isolated. I couldn't sort of pull the wool over anybody's eyes at that point and hide behind the guitar. I came up, and Joe, before I met Joe, I never even cared about things like monitors, and I usually didn't have them, actually. Front monitors, and I just relied on what little I heard from the back wall from the mains. Never cared about anything like that, just sort of, got up and screamed. That was that, yeah. And, so then I started to take more of an interest. But it's funny because I've probably been singing longer than I've been playing guitar.
Is that right?
Because I could carry a tune at the age of 1.
Yeah, right. But
when did you start? Had you always been singing when you played?
Yeah. I did a lot of stuff. I wasn't always a lead guitar player. A lot of country bands I was hired for when I was a kid was as the upper harmonist and rhythm player. At the age of 11 or 12, singing and strum, and that was that.
Oh, that's very interesting. Even your vocal skills recognized in the age as well.
Yeah, I played. This is my year. Fortunate, very fortunate. Had a good year.
言われて昔からボーカルがなるほどね。
I guess it's kind of a sensitive question, but you find that people at first take you as kind of a curiosity. How can a blind guy play a guitar? That's good. Or are people immediately getting over this
I
stage?
suppose I got used to it. You know, I mean, everybody, when you don't experience something, it's like, you know, I once saw a guy who, he had not all of his sight back, but a good deal of it, and he was born with 2 fingers on each hand. That's it. And was one of the most amazing keyboard players I've ever heard in my life. And I wondered at that, you know, when he was about 9 or 10. But, you know, and he didn't stop thinking about it. I mean, he wanted to play, and he figured out how to do it. He used his 4 fingers, cufflinks, anything he could, you know, his elbow, anything at all. Just had it figured out. And that's what it comes down to, is, you know, what you want to do, with what talent you're given in life. But it's still a hard thing to relate to, you know, when you don't experience it firsthand. So I think that's probably part of the curiosity factor. But eventually, I mean, for starters, putting out an album in the U.S. and for that matter anywhere else in the world outside of Canada before we went there, you know, was a good idea because it gave people a chance to listen to the band first, and then read about it and see it live at that point. But to listen first, have a musical impact, makes a difference.
I guess it's basically not even an issue among most of the fans.
I haven't heard anything really.
We try not to focus on it as a band.
Yeah.
Also, people who are coming to see the band for the first time, they may wonder if Jeff's technique is back to his mind. But after hearing it, for just a few minutes, that they realize the band is musical and that Jeff is musician.
Right. Well, like it's the same with, you know, any great musician. I mean, nobody thinks about Stevie Wonder as that great blind musician. That's something. Exactly.
Whether he was blind or had no legs or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you, Joe, you mentioned a second ago how Jeff, you know, as a guitarist, answers a lot of the questions, fulfills a lot of the needs of the basis. What exactly are you referring to?
Musical communication, mostly.
You sort of feel that
every musician has a background in music, and when a musician tries to find people to work with, he's always trying to find someone who communicates well with, he or she communicates well with, both musical and personal level. And that's what it's about. There could be thousands of musicians out there, and some of the winning combinations of bands you'll find people who come together in a chemistry almost, in a way they communicate musically. With Jeff and I, the first time we played together, when we first met, it came together so beautifully. It was like a meeting of 2 musical minds. It sort of went in the same direction.
Right. Likewise, I've been in a couple of three-piece bands that just one-night thing, and they would never work because he was a bass player. Usually the bass player, but also because he was far too busy trying to fill up all the spaces, or not doing, you know, just not doing enough to hold up his anchors of the band. And Joe, you know, just perfectly filled in what had to be done, and it made it so much easier as a guitar player to work. Because before the 3 of us played, Tom, Joe, and I didn't want to have anything to do with the 3 people because I had to rock and rock.
What sort of format did you have in mind?
I don't know. I was used to working with, for the most part, at least another guitar player.
Excuse me, I'll be right back.
And possibly a keyboard player, or a sax player, or a harmonica player, or something. You know. But there was always something, and I could just sort of fall back on that. You know. But with this band, we all had to sort of pitch into everything. And Tom, in all fairness, we should speak of him. certainly, I guess it's been defined as a guitar player's drummer, which is probably why I got along very well with him. He really, he listens to a guitar, whereas most drummers will listen to a bass player. And he really gets into playing off the guitar. All this is like that, but even other projects he's in band. It's a great combination.
Yeah?
It's a great time.
Does it
Looking
feel
forward to coming back.
Does it feel any different from like back in Canada? Or back
Oh,
in the
sure.
States?
I mean, everybody here is very, very polite.
Uh-huh.
Audiences. When you come in and when you meet them before the show, when you're standing in the wings, you don't hear them stand.
Yeah,
Very funny, they don't say a word. We just to each other. And you walk out and they applaud after the song, very graciously, and that's it. You know, you can get them to, there's one particular audience here, a small club who plays Tokyo, you just really get them into making noise. But for the most part, it's like playing like a symphony concert. Which is great. I like that.
You didn't feel any pressure because of that?
No, it gives you a chance to really think and concentrate on what you're doing.
Physical